Our keynote presenter today is Richard Hall from the Transport Overseas Group, and he's now going to officially open the content of our Truck and Fleet Conference 2023 with a very special look at the state of the links between the globe's major manufacturing hubs and how transportation and logistics can best prepare for the opportunities in the Saudi Arabian market, that market which, as Stephen rightly says, is extremely important to many of us here today, to prepare for the opportunities of the key KSA market and indeed the markets further beyond reach and further beyond. So please, in advance, let's give Richard Hall a huge welcome to the stage. Great to see you here, Richard.
I am on. Okay, yeah. So good morning, everybody. And before I start, I wanted to express my deepest thanks and congratulations to Stephen and his team for spearheading this event in Dubai. I think we can all agree on that. Thank you, Stephen. So perhaps first, a few words about us at TO, at Transport Overseas Group, because in 2023 we are celebrating our 10th anniversary of the company, which to many of you may seem very young, but you know, we have seen during that time a phenomenal growth across the globe, and today we now ship to all corners of the planet on a regular basis. This is very bright, yeah, to make sure everybody is actually awake this morning. These are some of the things that we do around the world, but our focus has been, of course, mainly working together with the international OEMs from Europe towards the Middle East, specifically Saudi Arabia. However, we do, of course, also work together with local companies in all the GCC markets. We now provide a global service for Ro-Ro, for container, for air freight, for OEMs from Asia, the EU, and the USA. I think where we've been very successful is across the Middle East, so our office is for the Middle East, of course, based here in Dubai. On the subject of Saudi Arabia, I think there's no doubt that Saudi Arabia is full of action at the moment. And it's difficult to find somewhere else in the world where there's more energy and more things happening. The government visions which have been outlined a few years ago are now in full swing. The giga projects such as Amala and the Red Sea project, as well as other public and private initiatives, are really incredible to see. And I have been to visit some of these places myself to see it with my own eyes, and only then I could believe the scale of what is going on. Being the heart of the Muslim world, this will of course result in huge spending. Maybe at the end we talk about $1 trillion of investment over the next years, and the infrastructure is going to be at the center of this. But of course, to get there, there needs to be construction and logistics, otherwise none of these projects can ever get off the ground. In terms of fleet and equipment, it's been estimated by some people that approximately 6,000 new trucks are needed in order to complete and work on these projects. And many of the OEMs are struggling to match this, to be honest. The supply of drivers in order to handle these projects will also be a major challenge. Yeah, currently there's also already a shortage of drivers, and to bring those in, it's going to be very difficult. So Saudi Arabia needs market participants to come together in order to deliver such projects, which are, of course, very ambitious. So far, this has been the case. Many of the projects are actually reporting that they're ahead of schedule, and that's very surprising to see. If we've looked at other projects worldwide in Europe and in other countries, they're often debated for decades. They end up way over budget and take much longer than it was originally expected. The projects in Saudi go ahead regardless. And it's up to us as the market players to work together in order to deliver them. It's believed some recent events in Europe, such as the war in Ukraine, have also reminded people that Saudi is an important player in the global economy. And recent announcements by Aramco on annual earnings for 2022, of course, support this. The Saudis have opened up the market and invited all kinds of multinational companies to come and participate in the growth of this country. We at TO, as well as other players, whether it's road, sea or air freight, we're already seeing increased demand for our services towards Saudi Arabia. However, it's not as easy as it looks. It never is. For example, in North Sea ports of Europe now are currently huge backlogs of vehicles and equipment waiting to be shipped and waiting for the ships to be able to get into the port. This is one of the biggest challenges that we are facing, which has generally been caused by COVID times and the current situation in Ukraine, that many suppliers have faced delays in production and therefore supply. Unfortunately, those problems being solved means that these issues are now moved from the factory to the port. Where you can now supply vehicles, you cannot ship them, and these are some of the biggest challenges that we face. However, in general, we have been successful in this regards, and we are now fully booked. However, we do manage to find space on spot rate business. Nevertheless, Transport Overseas, as a partner of Bahri, who are the national shipping line of Saudi Arabia, we have been adding capacity from the EU towards the Middle East in 2023, and this will continue throughout the year. We do this in a close cooperation with Bahri and therefore with the Saudi government directly, which gives us a unique position of being closely involved in projects before they even get started. Together with all our partners and all of the shipping lines that we represent, we have already delivered trucks, equipment, and even the Riyadh metro trains successfully to the kingdom. But the issues go a bit further than that. Within Germany now, for example, the trucking of vehicles from the factories to the port has also become an area of major challenges. It had never really been foreseen that many of the drivers who work across the EU actually came from the Ukraine or from areas connected with the Ukraine, and that they would leave their jobs and go back home because, of course, they have bigger priorities now. This has caused further delays in the delivery of vehicles or the pickup of vehicles. However, the situation now begins to stabilize, and we will see in the second half of the year improvements there. I don't specifically refer to the slides, by the way. They are information for you to read as long as I'm not interesting for you. But in Saudi Arabia, there are also changes afoot. The introduction of age limits for used trucks or used equipment, and also the limits for the lifetime of trucks and equipment, show a real forward thinking and a determination to clean up the market, which is currently overloaded with vehicles which are obsolete in many other countries of the world. Also, the imminent introduction of Euro 5 emission limits for trucks and equipment shows a commitment towards cleaning up the environment and finally coming into line with many other countries of the world. Those of us who have been involved in Saudi Arabia since the 90s, such as myself, would recognize that these are big and somehow overdue changes in the market. Some may say that Saudi Arabia has maybe not kept up in line with its neighbors in recent times, but I can tell you, having been there recently, that this is being corrected as we speak. This is changing, of course, the new targets in terms of business, manufacturing and tourism, even related to the automotive business, so the possible manufacturing in future of electric vehicles in Saudi Arabia is shortly becoming a reality. This will require, of course, a huge amount of logistics, therefore trucks and operators, in order to make this work. Even when the projects have been completed, there will still be a lot of infrastructure to take care of. The demand for vehicles and equipment will continue because of the huge geographical area that we're talking about. However, to rebuild and develop and expand and purchase is, to be honest, the easy part. Yeah? This costs a lot of money, but it can be done. And it can be built, and it can be shown. However, to change the concepts and the perceptions of the people in the country is the bigger challenge. To get ready for such a transformation over such a short period of time will take a strong leadership and a lot of convincing of the people. Myself and my colleagues are here during today. Should you have questions, should you have things that you would like to talk to us about, maybe we can support you. But in the meantime, I wanted to leave you with a short statement from Charles Darwin, who always said that it is not the strongest or the most intelligent that will survive. It is those who can best manage change. And I think this is very true across our Middle East region here. I want to thank you all for your time, and I wish you a productive conference today. Thank you.
So, Richard, we could ask you just to stay there for a couple of minutes, because I'm sure that we have a few questions that we'd like to ask Richard. And Richard, if I can just sort of leap in by saying, you mentioned the hold-up at the ports, and you mentioned that this may be the product of like the legacy of the COVID era. Is the legacy of the COVID era really still with us in such a damaging way? What do you think?
I mean, of course, I can't speak specifically for brands, for people, but from our perspective, what we see, yes, there are still delays, there are still vehicles being shipped and delivered now that were ordered maybe a year ago.
Oh my goodness.
And that's very unusual. So I would say there are still a lot of challenges, yes.
Really? Any questions, please? I'm sure there must be many questions, Richard. Any questions, please, ladies and gentlemen? Stephen, I saw you jotting down quite a few things there.
particularly in the supply of vehicles and equipment into the market. I was really interested why you said this has been corrected in terms about the fact that obviously Saudi's previously not necessarily accelerated its kind of clean emissions growth or whatever, the developments or whatever, and the regulations. Just want to know sort of just how serious do you think they are in terms of, first of all, encouraging people to make the leap into Euro 5, and also maybe the leap beyond that about whether or not there's any signs that the Saudi government are going to push electric vehicle adoption in that particular market. I mean, obviously here you can see that at least there's a roadmap, whether or not that's, I don't know if, you may not know the answer, but I just wondered if you do have any thoughts in those areas.
I mean, to be honest, Euro 4, Euro 5 was supposed to have been done a couple of years ago. That everybody knows that.
Yeah.
It was announced. But this time it is really happening.
Yeah.
So there won't be any more delays. And otherwise, the production of electric vehicles is an interesting point. So the brand NIO, which is currently a very small brand, but with a big future, they're in discussions to start in Saudi Arabia. So, and it seems there's a big willingness to go in this direction, yes.
Hello?
Yes.
Thank
you.
Just you were talking about the moving to Euro 5 in Saudi Arabia, but I mean, what is the quality of the diesel available there? Is it improved to ready for the Euro 5 regulations?
I mean, so for Euro 5 you need at least 10 ppm, proper low quality, high quality diesel. We have to assume that is the plan to roll this out across the country, that it will be available, yes.
You said that there are problem of drivers in Saudi Arabia. Are they going to hire locals according to the Saudization rules, or are they importing from abroad?
No, I mean that's always been the challenge, not only in Saudi but in all of the countries here, that the drivers are coming from outside. There are not local people who are driving trucks or operating heavy equipment. So that is the challenge, where to find them and how to bring them to the country, and how to manage the costs of that. That is the challenge,
Good morning, everyone. A question, you operate in Saudi, so you know probably from the first source information. The news regarding the maximum age of vehicles, heavy vehicles, which can operate in Saudi. There was recently announced, or we heard, that it's maximum 20 years, or is that true? Can you confirm, or?
Yeah, that's right. So 20 years, which really is a big thing, because you're talking about thousands of trucks which have to go off the road. So if you combine that with the capacity that will now go out of the market and the increased demand for projects that are being worked on, then you're talking about a lot of trucks that are needed.
Exactly, that was the second part of my question about the volume. What is the estimated volume of trucks or number of trucks which go out of operation? And is there any grace period? Have you got the source document or some source legal requirements which govern that? Is that available, or it's only message in the public space?
Actually, that information, it is available, yes, publicly. So I could share that with you. No worries. Yeah, we can talk afterwards. Secretly, yeah. No, I can share that with you. But no doubt, just to clarify, it's an interesting point. The 6,000 units, which I've mentioned earlier, is only being talked about for projects. So this doesn't include what's already going on in Saudi in terms of logistics, infrastructure, and other things. So, you know, the true number will be much bigger than that. This is only the numbers I've heard from some of the brands, what they are talking about for the construction projects. Yeah?
So thank you very much indeed, Richard.
Thank
Please,
you.
a huge
Yeah.
round of applause indeed.
Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you.